Hi, Jeff. I'd like to welcome you and everyone to the very first episode of $5 Exchange, where we exchange our cheap thoughts like sheep and settlers of Catan. I got some big questions for you today, Jeff. What is funny? Why do we tell jokes? Where do they come from? These are some questions that I thought about a lot. There was a time that I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and I would think about jokes and I would write them down and I would think about, why is this joke funny? Is this joke just funny to me? Is it going to be funny to other people? Where did this joke even come from? Jerry Seinfeld, an expert on comedy as far as I'm concerned, says that jokes come from some emotional cocktail of boredom, aggression, intense visual acuity, and a kind of silly putty of the mind that enables you to reform what you see into what you want it to be. So when Jerry Seinfeld tells a joke about how laundry is really bored because it just sits in a dresser all day, but laundry day is the best day of the week for laundry because it gets to go in the washing machine, there's soap, there's bubbles. It's basically a nightclub for laundry. The shirt grabs the underwear. How about a spin? Twirls it around. That's a great joke because it takes something as mundane as laundry and stretches it in your mind like that silly putty that he mentioned, and it just makes it so funny and awesome. I love it. Which brings me to the worst joke that I've ever heard. A moth walks into a dentist's office and says, "Oh my gosh, I think I'm a moth." And the dentist goes, "Well, if you think you're a moth, why'd you come to the dentist's office?" And the moth goes, "The light was on." This joke is terrible. There are two lines of setup. It mentions a dentist's office 3 times, and it's clearly establishing some pun about moths and dentistry. And then it, instead of stretching your mind, it condenses it and just replaces what should be some glorious punchline with "moths like light." And yet, Jeff, I really like this joke. Why do I like a joke which only serves as a reminder that moths like light? I love this joke because it is a joke on jokes. It doesn't stretch the mind to give you some bad punchline about moths and dentistry. Instead, it just gives you some fact about moths liking light. And why is that funny? Because it is a joke replacing the stretching of the mind with something mundane. It is funny because it doesn't do what most jokes do. It doesn't follow the rules. Here's how my brain processed the joke the first time I heard it. A moth walks into a dentist's office. Immediately I think, is this moth injured? Is something wrong with its wings? Is it going to the dentist's office because it's seeking some medical repair for its wings? Then the moth says, "Oh my gosh, I think I'm a moth." I accept that the moth can talk, no problem. However, I do have an immediate concern that this moth isn't sure that it is a moth, and suddenly I am unsure if this moth is a moth. The dentist goes, "Well, if you think you're a moth, why'd you come to a dentist's office?" The dentist is unhelpful at answering any of my questions or concerns about this moth. He appears to only be concerned about why this would-be moth is in his practice. And the moth goes, "The light was on." Of course the light was on, you dumb moth. Dentists don't work in the dark. You could go to any building and have the exact same conversation with any employee working there. We keep the lights on so people can see. I will never understand how that joke is funny, but this joke... Knock, knock. Who's there? Buzz. Buzz who? Buzz, the moth just flew into the electric bug zapper. This joke isn't funny at all, but it ends with the same reminder: moths like light. I guess I'm gonna have to keep thinking why some jokes are funny and other jokes are... chirp, 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 chirp. My question for you, Jeff, and everyone watching is, did you think that moth joke is funny? Let me know in the comments below and we can exchange some thoughts.